Hello and welcome to EduMate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each of us rewind, reboot, rethink, reset, reformat before we rebuild a new future, a new normal in the world of education. Particularly in higher education, the one trait required to overcome challenges and provide solutions is the trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from past experience and knowledge, and wisdom to be able to anticipate, embrace, and evolve with the new future. And that's what makes our wise Chancellor. Well, today we have a very special wise Chancellor and a guest with us, Professor Shaukat Moitra, who's joining us from Kolkata, and he's heading the Maulana Azad University of Technology. What a pleasure to have you here, sir, with us. It's always good to be connected with the educationists and luminaries like yourself. But of course, the learning experience has been quite unique in this time of pandemic. Tell us your experiences. How have you seen the challenges through for the university, and what have been your unique solutions?
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for calling me and for giving me an opportunity to share my views at your platform. I will tell from the perspective of professional education, because I am heading a university which is looking after mostly engineering, technology, management, and different professional programs, employable programs. And what we are seeing that for the last few years, there has been a tremendous change worldwide in the requirement of new skill sets. And because of this technological revolution, which happened probably a few years before, that already disrupted in the existing scenario of professional education. Let me be precise about the fact in this way. The new form of the skill requirement which has emerged, for that we were thinking and we were really anxious how to take care of all these new requirements, particularly when the industry was changing from a definite pattern to another definite pattern, which we call Industry 4.0, where robotics, artificial intelligence, and all these areas were becoming more and more prominent, where cybersecurity, data security, and many other disciplines, digital marketing and many other disciplines, e-commerce, which were emerging in the entire world. For that, we are thinking how to revamp and restructure our educational program. And what we are observing that much reliance has to be developed on digital education. Particularly, there are different emerging areas for that we may not have immediately available resource persons. And we have to rely on them for digital platform to take up these types of skills and knowledge from other universities, other countries where this subject has already been developed and where digital resources has been developed in this regard. By 2024-25, the writing on the wall is this: the entire skill set requirement should have been transformed, and that is required for making our young generation more employable. And that's why this COVID situation, probably it has accelerated our, all this endeavor to that direction. In that way, now in COVID situation where physical distancing is the norm, there we have to rely much on our digital platform and digital education. Initially, there was a little bit, this skepticism and little bit, this resistance in the mindset of our, all our stakeholders. How far digital education will be able to meet up the knowledge requirement of our young students. If you look at the business scenario, the situation is like that. We have to prepare manpower for businesses which are taking place mostly on digital platform like digital marketing. There is a tremendous upsurge of this new skill set requirement. Therefore, what we are doing right now, we are totally gearing up ourselves for embracing this digital technology to empower our faculties, to empower our students in a remote system, because the students and faculties mostly they are confined at their home. So we are trying to establish this connectivity and encouraging our faculties, all trainers connected with our university systems to adopt and absorb all these digital techniques to the best possible extent for empowering our students in the form of teaching learning systems. That is true for evaluation also, the assessment and evaluation part. And for that, one of the constraints is maybe the digital infrastructure in pan-India system. May not be properly available at many places, but this is the obligation of government now.
I'm so encouraged and I'm so enthused by the positivity and the progress with which you led your thinking and led your team to infuse solutions in this very challenging environment. And I especially congratulate you because universities in areas like Kolkata, where I happen to belong from them, and I know that what an enormous amount of talent actually goes waste or is subutilized because of lack of opportunities and lack of relevance. And the fact that you're making yourself relevant, you're making yourself responsive and responsible, is something that's really praiseworthy. And I congratulate you for that, Professor Moitra. That having been said, you pointed out two things which caught my attention. First was, of course, the digital connectivity. And we're perhaps looming at another divide in this country, which has been divided on religious, on caste, on creed, on color, on economy. It now has the possibility of seeing a very sinister digital divide, something we cannot afford. I'd like your comment on that. And secondly, very importantly, with employment at a 45, almost a 50-year high, right? You talked about employability, something which we at edumate.tv actually embraces our mission. We say our mission is educate to employ. It's something that is very welcome. But that becomes insufficient and incomplete in the absence of very strong industry connect. So what are you doing on both accounts?
If you look at the working culture of top giants like TCS, Infosys, and many other IBM, they are advising their people to work from home. That means the culture, this remote working culture, sitting at home, that is becoming more and more prevalent in most of these industries. And the thing is, now industry is also supporting, and this is the only option for the industry, because there are two. One is this virus-related problems. Another is, if you look at in the global context, there is geopolitical. All these problems are prevailing in many places. So what you can do in the form of business, maybe physically moving from one place to another, may not be an easy proposition. Even the virus problem disappears, then also may not be because of these geopolitical conditions and all these constraints that may appear in near future because of this power balance, power equations, all these things. So there, more reliance on the digital infrastructure. Question of digital divide means in terms of this interest, in terms of embracing the technology, there is no problem. This is irrespective of caste, creed, and all these things. If you give computer to the just I mentioned the hole in the wall experiment. If you give computer to a remotest corners of the village, to some people, some children who do not have any access to college, you will see that within a shortest period of time they will be able to handle all these gadgets. But the thing is, now we have to give them the access. And that's why I am repeating it again. So it is same for industrialization. If you want to set up in industry at remotest corner, then all the infrastructure like electricity, like road construction, all this is the responsibility of the local government. They have to set up all these things. Now, when people are comfortable in handling all these things, people know how to use these things for their betterment. Now, this is the onus of the responsibility parallel to physical road construction, digital, this route construction. That should be one of the part of the government mission, and government is working on this direction.
Nothing succeeds like success, Professor Moitra. And unless and until you're able to provide employability and convert that into jobs, you will be dissatisfied. So let us know how has been the placement experience with the university.
Placement experience, if you look at this is in the context of the entire country. In engineering education, overall, we are saying that 50% placement was happening from campus, and rest 50% they were getting placements of their own, attending this walking interviews and all these things. Now the thing is, there are different ways of getting engagement and employment. There are lots of career options and potential for earning money using internet is emerging. Even using YouTube, our young students, I have seen many students, they are earning a lot using YouTube, using website, these web platforms, creating, these different short shop, these websites. So there are tremendous, these possibilities and potential is existing in, these digital platforms. And there, I have seen my experiences, many of the students, they are earning. Entirely new sets of professions will be there. And this is being said that by 2030, those professions will be emerging, which is there, which are not existing right now. And this time, they will be having these types of professions, and most of these professions which are existing now will be disappearing. That's why, the possibility is enormous. Only thing, we have to orient ourselves with the changing scenario. And now this is the time of doing everything with this term coin is called self-learning, self-earning, self-reliance, and many things is appearing there. So even sitting at it, this is one of the advantage of the digital democracy. Right now, you need not to go to US for getting education. Through digital platform, you can have courses from MIT, Stanford, Harvard, and all these things, and you can get certificates from all these universities. Right. So one of the biggest advantage. Number two is, you can act as this third party or service provider sitting at remotest corner of this country. If you have internet connection, you can be a third party or service providers or all these things, because everything is being done on the digital platforms. So therefore, the homogeneity of our society in terms of this migration, this is one of the advantages, migration to the city, and this heterogeneous distributions of this population. That will be my observation. This in near future, that will be evenly distributed, because people will not feel that urge to migrate to the city, and then this pressure on the city, the level of pollution, this pressure on water, all these things that will be, because if you want to discuss, there is this different perspective also. Yes. As people are migrating more and more city, so there is pressure on environment, pressure on water, pressure on energy, all these things. So that will be this one of the biggest advantage of digital democracies. That will take care of all these things to make us more uniform.
The disadvantage of having so many options is a problem of plenty. It makes a very difficult choice as well. I mean, for not just the student, but also the selection for the company. Because if you're able to get education from several of the big institutes, right? You can do a 6 months course, you can do a 5-year course. It's but you still have some kind of a certification. It becomes not that easy to be able to distinguish. Maybe that's going to be our upcoming challenge. Do you feel that going forward? Because there will be obviously an oversupply also at some stage.
There is another point. This is the era where people are more focusing on learning, unlearning, and relearning, and lifelong learning. Whatever you are learning from academic institute, and that is sacrosanct, and that will give you dividend for your entire life, this concept we have to give up. Because this is the time where everything is changing so fast, you continuously need to upgrade yourselves. And from where you can upgrade yourselves, only this one of this option only is self-learning. Every time you cannot go to academic institute, leaving your jobs and all these things, because there are 2 points. One is getting jobs, another is retaining jobs. Retaining job is also very difficult. And until unless you are not continuously upgrading yourselves, you will not be able to retain your job. There is one of the culture that is a recent phenomena of many of the top-notch these organizations like Google, IBM, Microsoft, Bank of America. They are trying with people who do not have any formal qualification, only seeing whether they have the learning ability and right type of attitudes for learning. That is sufficient enough. The second point is right now it is being said, you have to look at this problem from different perspectives, and that's why you need to engage persons from different backgrounds to give a more holistic solution for any problem. That's why persons from music also, they are getting employments at IT organizations. Right. Even 10 years before, 15 years before, we could not think of it. Persons belonging to history, persons belonging to social science, literatures, they are because the new and new areas of problems are appearing, and what are solving these problems. I am seeing regularly subjects like design thinking, subjects like big history, likewise future thinking. Many subjects are emerging. So, and these subjects are much particularly blended subjects. They require these inputs from different areas. Maybe you should have one core subjects, but at the same time some ideas on computer, some this control of your or knowledge of your language and your core subject. That combination is sufficient enough to make yourself employable either with an organization or with yourself. It is very much formidable.
You mentioned the word background 3 or 4 times in your last part, of your talk, and it makes me curious about your background because you seem to have such a high sense of progress and positivity. So I need to learn about you. So tell me about your career path, Professor Moitra, and inspire.
It is. Actually, there are 2 things, because many times people, I have seen in many seminars and many places, vice chancellors and this top CEO of academic institute, they are being described by their disciplines and what they have, in which area they have done the PhD. You see, it gives this subject bias or myopic vision. And for our case, for persons like us, we have to give some this top view culture, giving importance to each and every subject. So far, my discipline goes, it is I belong to chemical science discipline. But afterwards, I tried to continuously upgrade myself, getting inputs from all courses: humanities, social science, management, philosophy, IT and education, from each and every area. Because I am an avid reader and I am very curious about all this development which is happening. I am equally interested in data science. I am equally interested in historical facts. I am equally interested in digital marketing. At the same time, I am interested in environmental effects. So that's why, and that is required for my profession. This is required. Otherwise, I will not be able to understand the importance of each and every subject. And slowly, I am realizing that each and every subject, they have unique contribution, and all are connected.
Quite remarkable. Your varied interest makes you such an interesting personality yourself, and it inspires so many people. It inspires me for sure, and perhaps I hope it will, and I'm sure it will inspire a lot of our viewers as well. Education often becomes a political subject, but what's important to understand is that since given the nature of unprecedence of the situation, even the governments, whether it's the state or the central governments, have found themselves a little short and a little inconsistent in their decision making, even the Supreme Court for that matter, or as to how they view the situation. And that seems to have infused some kind of confusion, in the entire education ecosphere. Whether you should be scrapping exams or not, when should you start online education, or should you start? What are the ills of it? How should you start? How well prepared are we? When do you go back to physical education? What should be the fee structure? How much should the courses be reduced? A lot has happened. We need to even recognize that those things are happening. But are you satisfied with whatever you've heard so far from all sense of policymakers?
There has been significant change in the entire world, and many things, you see, whatever we have learned at our times, these are if we still boast of all these things that we have done, this is not so relevant right now. Right now, it is the time to relook at everything from different perspectives. Situation is like this: people are talking about themselves and thinking different things, but technology is so powerful, and it will come like a deluge, and everyone has to surrender before it. And that has happened in the human history time and again. That's why these digital things, technology, and all these things, remote systems, robotics, artificial intelligence, these are going to be a part of our existing systems. And now we have to stay on it.
Yeah, you're right. But what happens is, particularly in a statement of crisis, in a state of a pandemic, the last thing you want is confusion. What you need is consistency. You see, you could be right or wrong because everybody's learning. But if you're not consistent and you keep confusing, then you create panic. And then you create ambiguity. And that can never be good for anyone. So even the process of evolution has to have the system of taking risks, recognizing those risks, and has to have consistency. That's all my little point was. But since there is confusion, and a lot of it is acceptable and understandable, but not necessarily, it's something that should be there. Every single person in the ecosphere of education finds himself for a need of advice and an opinion. So I'd like Professor Moitra to give his advice to 4 sections of the education ecosphere: the student, the parent, the teacher, and your fellow Vice Chancellor.
This is the time not to plunge into desperation, but to relook into the horizon of new hope. Because many new things are appearing. And how best we can prepare ourselves for embracing all these new things, there lies our challenge. And that is required for our new generation, because we are talking about a demographic dividend. We need to empower and impart proper skill to our new generation. Then only we can think of this enlightened India, or India at the top, these brackets. The thing is now, our new generation, our millennium generation, they are very comfortable. They have high intelligence potential. Only thing, they need a proper mentoring and supporting. So far, my understanding goes, from technical side, technological side, there are lots of things that can be self-learned. But this mentoring, there is repeatedly it is being said, this not guide this sage on the stage, but guide by the side. Right. So we have to act as guide by the side, because we have to guide them, we have to mentor them, we have to encourage them, inspire them, motivate them, and that is the role of now the teaching community. Sure. Learning all these skills and all these things, that can be done by in a convincing way or formidable way from the digital platform, self-learning mode by all these tools. So we have to create an ecosystem like that. Maybe a skill acquisition from digital platform, and the psychological development in contact with the teachers and your and your parents and communities. And in that way, we have to restructure our education systems in the long run. Number one. Number two is everyone should be optimistic. In a different period of history, we have seen changes happen, and whenever there is a change, there is a disruption, new opportunities develops, and how best we can capitalize these opportunities, that we have to look into. And all these infrastructures which are required for these types of skill imparting, and that need to be developed immediately for all the education institute. That would be the major mandate for all education institute: physical infrastructure as well as human resource development for making this.
Professor Moitra, you've learned from the old, you continue to learn from the new, and we continue to learn from you. Thank you for being such a wonderful mentor, a guide by the side, as you say, and for being a very worthy and wise Chancellor. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. This is a very nice initiative, because I was not quite sure that what actually you are going to do, but when I'm seeing all these things, it's very nice initiatives, and we need to continue this practice for development of awareness, because awareness is not that much available in our Indian systems, and there are people like you who are working in developing awareness. Your endeavor needs to be appreciated, and I believe that with all your efforts and all these things, our this community, they will be more aware of all this requirement of future, and that is the wish of all of us, that our future generation, they should be safe, they should be empowered, and they should be able to take the country ahead. And whatever we are doing in that direction, thank you for your effort.